And hello, and welcome to a Good Guy Sports Halloween special. As you can see, the three of us, Blake Lumber, obviously not a costume, but the other Blake dressed up as a referee. We have Uncle Mike dressed up as the Monsters slash Doug Dynasty Southern,
Hippie, I think.
yeah, hippie guy, yeah.
Peace.
Yes, and he's just what I would call a kind of a Mumpster Southern kind of man. The way the way I
I
look
think
at
hippie
it.
mostly he's going
Yeah,
for, but
right. But anyway,
anyway,
it's always great to be part of the show here on our
Jack,
Good
what are you dressed as?
Halloween special. And me myself, I am Freddie Freeman, the dot the, who I don't know who I don't know if you know, but he has happened to his team has happened to won the World Series, and he's one of the most valuable players. So
Heard
just
about it.
because he's by far the single player that has hit the most home runs out of any player in the World Series, which is even hard to put into words the way I look at it. So yeah, that's who I'm dressed up as this year. Thought I was gonna be dressed up as a movie character like the Minions or 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 even a Toy Story Disney character like Buzz Lightyear or Woody or any other movie character or maybe Marvel or or um or superhero or Spider-Man or the Hulk or the Incredibles or really just or Marvel or DC Comics kind of guy.
I'm calling a flag on you for naming too many
Yeah, well, the
characters.
list goes on and on, but yeah, but yes, yeah, flag me whenever you want. But I just gonna tell you, Blake, the list goes on and on and on with all those Halloween characters. But I wish I could have on this year. But you know what? What I said to myself, I want to do Freddie Freeman because his team won the World Series, and that's what I decided with and ended up doing. And that's just what I did.
Yeah. Freddie went 6 for 20 in the World Series. 4 of his 6 hits were home runs, and the other 2 hits were a triple and a 2 RBI single. Batted 300 with 12 RBIs.
Unreal. Well, how many games in a row with a home run?
Uh, this series was 4, but counting the other 2, the last 2 with the Braves, 6 World Series games in a row with a home run.
Good gracious. It's unreal.
It's pretty
And
impressive.
he had a severely sprained ankle. And today it came out he also had an injury on his side. So he did all that hobbled.
It's
Reminds me of
crazy.
Washington's quarterback,
Yeah.
hurt ribs and still took him to victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's the new Mr. October, and certainly, the Dodgers obviously were pretty dominant the entire series, and Freeman was certainly a huge part of that. And I think he turned up in terms of swinging the bat, and
Mhm.
the big Yankee players, not all of them turned up. You could say for the whole of the series, and that was certainly the difference between the two teams. And just kind of getting into the series as a whole, obviously a lot was talked about sort of Otani versus Judge, and I think Otani had a solid series. He was obviously had that injury in game two that maybe affected him a little bit. He was still pretty impactful, but I mean, I think from a Yankees perspective, the story of this series was kind of the ineffectiveness of Judge, and maybe the whole postseason as well. You would say, right, Mike, is maybe that's the reason, one of the reasons, obviously, why they couldn't get over the line.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big one. But in all fairness, one of the things that surprised me was the Dodgers starting pitching. In the first 3 games, their starting pitching was just was lights out. Bueller starting game 3, who really didn't, he's coming off of 2 Tommy Johns, and he really didn't have that good of a season. His ERA was over 5, but in game 3, he pitched 5 innings, gave up 2 hits, no runs. And then he comes in 2 days later and he pitches the bottom of the 9th for the Dodgers and gets the Yankees out in order. The other thing I would say is the Yankees fielding, their defense was not up to snuff in the game. Not discounting the 5th inning last night.
Yeah, I
But
mean, we gotta
Yeah,
talk
that
about
was
that, don't we?
you know,
that was heartbreaking. I
but
have
they're
never seen anything like that happen before ever in my lifetime.
yeah,
The way that this game played out last night. I mean,
yeah,
think about it, Mike. They were just they were up. But what? So what? They were up. They so what? They were up 6 or what was
It
it?
was
5 to
five
nothing,
nothing.
and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden the Dodgers were on the board, and they were able to capitalize. One of the reasons
yeah,
why the Dodgers are the best team in baseball and all of the season and possibly into the postseason. And so to me, the Yankees they just made too many mistakes and errors and you just can't do that against a great Dodgers team. And that's just and that's usually what happens if you're going up against a great team like the Dodgers, especially when they're healthy. And really, the Yankees just to me had too many mistakes where you had a fan interference, you would had too many errors, and Aaron Judge not making the catch, and then one of the players tried to get the out on first base, and it didn't turn out so well for those Yankee fans up in the Bronx. But I mean, at least you made it
yeah,
still, but they thought they were going to be forcing a game 6 in LA. It doesn't appear that way. So instead, the Dodgers clinched the World Series in New York, in the Bronx, and they're world champions. And that's just really what it comes down to. Team win the championship, and really really the Dodgers don't flinch, and they always find a way, and that's usually what happens.
yeah. If Think of this, if Cole had covered first base, that would have been the 3rd out of the inning.
Hmm.
Instead, since he did not cover, Mookie's infield single drove in 1 run, and then Freddie comes up, hits a single, 2 RBI single. And then right after that, Hernandez comes up and hits a 2 RBI double, which then ties the game. The other thing intriguing is in game 1, where the Dodger fan interfered and they ruled interference and awarded the Yankee a double. If that fan had not interfered, that ball might have cleared the fence and would have been a home run, in which case the Dodgers would have ended up winning game 1 3-2. There would not have been the grand slam opportunity for Freddie in the bottom of the 10th inning. Maybe the series would have changed. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of sliding doors when it comes to a series like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, certainly that momentum, the Yankees could have easily walked away with a victory in LA in game 1, right? And who knows where the momentum goes after that. But no, I think honestly, Mike and Jack are right. It's funny to say, but it was really the fundamentals of baseball that killed the Yankees in this series. And you could kind of tell, even though they got through the previous rounds in the American League playoffs, that like it was going to be an issue. And talking about the base running and the fielding, really, like a lot of mental errors on the bases, a lot of silly mistakes in the field. And obviously that kind of was epitomized by the error from Judge in the fifth inning on what would be usually a routine catch for a center fielder, right? And that would have it certainly would have helped prevent what became sort of the floodgates opening up for the Dodgers there in that fifth inning. And you know, you can talk about adding in big bats and bulking up your lineup all day, but if you're not going to do the basics right when it comes to fielding and when it comes to base running, it's gonna come back to bite you. And particularly, like Jack said, with a lineup as dangerous as this LA Dodgers have.
Yeah, and I was reading that was Judge's first error of the year.
It's not a good time to have it.
Something strange like that. I mean, they said it was what caught his eye was the runner was
Right.
3/4 of the way down, and he figured that he had a chance to double him up. And so at the last minute, he looked to first base and then just closed his glove at the wrong time. And
It's fine margins.
yeah, very fine margins. But yeah, their base running, they had snafu the other night with base running. Guy on second should have scored when the ball hit the outfield wall, but instead he just got to third base, which the hit may have end up being a triple, and would have gotten 2 runs in for the Yankees in Game 4. So yeah, they're gonna have a lot of things to work on in spring training. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
down
it's
in
gonna be a long off season for the Yankees. But to your point, Mike, about Garrett Cole, they just kept him on the mound too long, and they got to really just let him take a breather in between innings and not have him in there
Yeah.
for most of the entire time. So yeah,
But
the Yankees could have do a lot better in the game, but
yeah,
you got to be proud of how you made it this far and still didn't win, and you still fell short for winning a championship and how all the disappointments are. But
yeah. Cole was pitching a no-hitter through the
yeah, I
first
know.
4 innings.
Yeah. And really, and if you look at the Yankees roster, they are going to be a bunch of free agents after this season. So it's going to be hard to keep them on the roster for
Yeah.
next year. So you're
Do
talking
you
about
think the Dodgers will go after to get Soto?
well, they might, but in my opinion, what they should do to Juan Soto is they should bring him back to the Washington Nationals. He to,
No,
to
no,
your
no, no.
to your
No, he's gonna
team.
go to a team that's in contention, Jack.
I know, but I know, but I feel like the Nationals really miss him. So I
He'll
think
go
that
back there when he's like 40 years old, maybe, or something.
I don't know about that. He should return there for the fans to really be happy about, including Uncle Mike, which he's a season ticket holder for them, and 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 he should make things and feel feel very happy about life and about himself to be on this team again, which I feel like would be a great thing. So I say Juan Soto should return to the Nationals next season.
Yeah, I wouldn't place any bets on that, audience. But Jack, I think we need to give a little bit of more credit to the Dodgers and give them their kudos for winning this thing. Obviously, we've talked
Absolutely.
about the mistakes of the Yankees, but we mentioned Freeman obviously having a killer series per usual. I think we got to give a shout out. I think I was impressed this whole postseason by the shortstop Edmund as well. I thought he really impressed me as somebody that kind of came onto the scene late, sort of an unsung hero. Obviously, Otani is always consistent. They have a pretty strong lineup, featuring the likes of, Muncy and Will Smith, the guys that have been there for a while and have just been really consistent hitters. I thought Hernandez as well hitting in that cleanup
Yeah.
spot was a hard out the entire series as well. And I mean, on one hand, you could say they have a ginormous payroll, both these teams, so this is kind of what you would expect. But as we know, the World Series and MLB playoffs can be unpredictable at times. So I think you have to give credit to the roster construction for sure, and then as well with Ohtani notching a 50 home run, 50 stolen base season and capping it off with the World Series crown. It has to. I mean, Mike's a historian here. That has to go down as one of the more impressive just overall seasons from start to finish, right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anybody's ever had a season like Ohtani's had. But also bear in mind Muncy and Will Smith. Muncy batted a buck 63, and Smith batted a buck 43 in the series. So, but kudos to the Dodgers. I'd really go back to their pitching. I didn't think their pitching was fairly stellar. It was a lot better than I would have imagined the pitching was. So a lot of credit to that.
Yeah, I think they're pretty deep when it comes to their rotation and their just entire lineup.
I mean,
one guy's
yeah, when their other starting pitchers heal and get heal from their injury, they're going to be awesome next year.
right. Yeah, they
Yeah,
this is
and believe it or not, Mike, I'm sure you know about this being a baseball fan yourself that Shohei Ohtani will be the starting pitcher next year for the Dodgers, which should be very exciting for the fans and for the sport of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
and Jack, just going back to, we can finish with the discussion on maybe on the future, but I think we were talking about where Soto is going to land. I know he had a really good season for the Yankees, and I know they definitely love him up there in the Bronx, and they'd love to have him back. But as we know, sports is a business, so there's going to be a lot of other teams that will vie for his signature. I'm sure the Mets will probably be involved in that discussion as well, right? It's team just across town there in Queens. Obviously, the Dodgers will be there or thereabouts. Some other big market teams, I'm sure, will get involved. But yeah, I know. I think if you're the Yankees, you kind of have. I don't. I mean, you don't have to re-sign him, but if you just stay stagnant the way it's going, you would think the fans will certainly put pressure on the front office to bring him back. So we'll see.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't end up with a Phillies uniform.
Well, yeah, that's another one that's a distinct possibility for sure. I'm sure I mean, as a Braves fan, I'd love to have him as well, but we don't really, that's not really our model is not really the big free agent acquisition right now. So, I think the teams to look out for, in my opinion, would be Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, Giants, maybe. I mean, they're not really, I don't know if they're super in contention right now. Yeah. But we've seen players sign a big contract with a team that is not necessarily like coming off of a huge year, so you never really know. There could be a surprise team that pops up as well. Some of these baseball contracts end up being bigger numbers, surprising numbers years teams than you would expect. So should be interesting free agent offseason for sure.
And one other guy to keep an eye on is Alex Bregman from the Astros. To think about if he's going to be resigned as a free agent there. So definitely something that to keep our eye on for sure to see if he's going to be signing with a new team. Who knows? Maybe the Braves can go after him. But the Braves. If I'm the Braves, this is one of our favorite teams to watch. They got to go after some free agents and go hard in draft. Really, in my opinion. But that's part is in a whole other conversation here at Good Guy Sports. But also to finish up in our topic before we move on to our next subject is that the Dodgers did win a World Series title not that long ago, back in 2020, but it was in the COVID bubble in Texas. So which means that yeah, they won a title, but they didn't get to have that championship parade um that they had since 1988, almost like 30 years in the making. That is because the city of Los Angeles at the time and the world was in a COVID-19 pandemic that year. So this time around, they will have a parade on Friday, and that will be so fascinating to watch. The city of LA is going to go nuts and crazy, and it's going to be wild. There's going to be so much buzz and excitement, and the vibe is going to be crazy. Oh, it's going to be a great time out there out in Tinseltown to soak it all in. And we're going to be here for it. And that is just something I cannot wait to tune in to watch. It's going to be quite something to celebrate. It's going to be quite it's going to be quite in the history making for sure. And yeah, the Dodgers deserve it. They're going to enjoy it, and yeah, they just soak it all in, and yeah, they deserve it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also the Dodgers and Yankees. Before we move on to talk about some NFL and college football, that that these are one of the two iconic that we all know this the most iconic historic sports franchises of all time, baseball franchises, if not sports franchises of all time in North American history. So there's also that for you for what the Dodgers did for winning championships combined when they were in Brooklyn and in New York and the Bronx and in LA combined when they first moved there. I believe it was in 1963. So or the 80s rather. So yeah, LA and Dodgers has something to celebrate and deserve out, and yeah, definitely will be something to remember for years to come, and definitely it's definitely going to be history making, that's for sure.
A lot of fun in LA.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mike.
Talk a little NFL now, Jack.
All right, so let's turn now, Blake, and talk about some and preview and and preview some NFL football week 9 preview starting us off on Halloween night. Believe it or not, there is football on Halloween, which is a thing, but that doesn't happen every year in the NFL. But this year it does. That we have the Red Hot Texans taking on a 2-6 Jets team that just looks embarrassed and terrible and awful. And Aaron Rodgers to me is getting old. He should retire. And the Jets are just terrible. And they're just a really bad team. And I think that the Texans are just a better team. TJ Stroud's red hot. And yeah, without question, the Jets are terrible. They're playing on Thursday Night Football. It'll be in New York, but the Texans are going to be in a rout, and they're going to be and it's going to be a blowout for the fans up in East Rutherford, up in that life, and the Jets are just going to be embarrassed. And much like what the Yankees did last night up there for New York sports fans, what's going to get even worse and ugly for those fans as the Jets will lose again to the Red Hot Texans and CJ Stroud. Great defense on both sides of the ball. They're great teams on both sides of the ball, and Texans will run and beat the Jets all over on the field on both sides of the ball. The Texans will win the game very easily.
Jack, I'm going to be honest with you. I have to call a foul on the New York Jets for being a fraudulent team. It's a 15-yard penalty. I'm calling it on Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. I mean, like you said, this team had so much hype going into this season. A lot of people were picking them to win their division, win the AFC even. And they've lost 5 straight games, and it just hasn't worked out. The coach is gone. They made a trade last week. It didn't matter. They still lost to the Patriots, who are supposed to be one of the worst rebuilding teams in the AFC. So I think calling this season anything other than a disaster would be doing it a bit of a favor. So even if they do find a way to beat Houston tonight, I'm not sure what it's really going to do for them this season. So yeah, I gotta call a big flag on the Jets as big the season's biggest pretenders. I have to say, Jack, I really do.
And think about it, Blake. The Patriots, even though they have a losing, even though they have a, they're, even though they're currently on a losing streak, they're in a losing season. There's you got to think they're not rebuilding. They're just a very young team. Jacoby Brissett slash Drake May are just learning in this offense, and fans in New England should be very excited about the future, even though you don't have Tom Brady anymore. But those fans up there should be very excited for what Jacoby Brissett's bringing to this team, even though they're not off to a great start during their losing season. You got to feel proud, and hopefully the fans up in New England have something special to be excited about, even though the Robert Crafts and those people up there know what's coming, even though it will be years from now. But if you're a Patriots fan, you should be excited and very proud for what this team has to build for the future. But back to your point about the Jets, yeah, it's just yeah. Look, the Jets had the lead at New England last week. It didn't last very long. The Patriots had a game-winning drive, and that's really what it came down to. So that's really the margin of error of how it really it is really what it is really the distance of what it comes down to, and that's just really how it goes in the National Football League, really. So there's that. So let me turn my attention now and bring Blake Weinberger over because the Dallas Cowboys lost again to the 49ers. And for any Cowboys fans out there, you might want to look away, but the 49ers just beat them again on the road. 49ers own the Cowboys. Now you think about it, their Cowboys schedule gets very difficult. You have to play at the Falcons, not an easy place to play, as we all know. Hostile environment at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I think the Cowboys will win, but it's not going to be easy. It could go either way. Atlanta has a 3-point spread. They were coming off a win and what I would say an emotional or a close game win against the Buccaneers. Since they were without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in that game, even though the Bucks rallied, but it fell short for them. But Falcons won that game anyway. They're the top of the NFC South, although it's still a long season. Anything can happen in that division. So I'll say the Cowboys will win slightly since they're a better team on the road than they are at home. That's just how it is. But Blake Lumber, what to say you about the Cowboy season right now and where things are right now? Talk to me, Blake Lumber.
Well, I got even worse news for you, Jack. Guess what quarterback is on my fantasy football team?
Dak Prescott.
You got that right. So it
Oh,
gets even worse for me. Jack, I
oh,
believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Falcons are now winning the division, but the Cowboys have a lot of pressure on them. Dak's got a lot of pressure. Jerry Jones has a lot of pressure. I don't know why, but I think the Cowboys are a better team than they've been playing, and I think the Cowboys win the game.
all right, all right. Blake Rumberger is taking the Cowboys. Brother Blake, Mike Roby, what say you about this matchup?
Well, the Cowboys have not won at home this year. They're 3-4, and their 3 victories have all been on the road. For some reason, they cannot win at home. I have the Falcons winning this game. Falcons by 5 points. I think Captain Kirk for the Falcons will do the Cowboys in.
I like that. I like that pick. Yeah, I gotta call a personal foul against Blake Lamberger on his selection. I've been impressed with the Falcons offense, particularly in that game against Tampa. You can say they're missing pieces, Jackson, but it was mainly on the offensive side of the ball. I thought Cousins looked like he was moving the ball. Kyle Pitts had a great game as well. I think some of these pieces are starting to gel together. I was a little bit unsure early in the season about that, how that Falcons offense would kind of mesh. So, um, there's gonna be a lot of Cowboys fans there, to be fair, because as we know, the Falcons fan base not particularly great, and so whenever like a team like, Dallas, Pittsburgh, San Francisco comes in there, they usually kind of take over. So we'll see if that ends up having any sort of an impact. But I just think the Falcons offense looks strong, and Dallas, I'm just not too sure Dallas is a good team, to be honest. I think, what they're 3-4 right now, and that might even be flattering them record wise in terms of the actual on-field performances. So I gotta call a personal foul and put the Cowboys on a possible fraud watch as well. Not as big as the Jets. The Jets are firmly in the fraud watch. The Cowboys are in contention for that as well. So I'm gonna keep my whistle in my pocket for right now on the Cowboys, but depending on how this week goes, they might fall into the fraudulent category, Jack. So I've got my eyes on them for sure.
I know you will. I know you will be all over to keep an eye on us since you and I will be since you and I will be tracking it live on Red Zone. I'm sure you will keep us posted whenever something big happens or changes. I'm sure you'll let us know whenever it is, and we'll be all over on that. Now let's get to another matchup here. We have this game in Philadelphia, in Philly, where my dad grew up. We have the Philadelphia Eagles, who um who are 5-2, only just right behind the first place leading Commanders, which we'll get into in a second. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they were coming off a huge statement win at Cincinnati last week. The Bengals, much like the Cowboys, are not great at home. So for this one, the Jaguars are just 2-6. Trevor Lawrence is not the same quarterback as he was like 2 seasons ago when they were off to a winning streak. That's not the case this year. So because of that, I think Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles defense, led by former Georgia Bulldog players, will get it done in South Philly. Fly, Eagles, fly. The Philadelphia Eagles will beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in a blowout. Mark my words, Eagles on top.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll find particularly any argument with your selection there. I didn't think it was really up for any debate, to be honest. I think the Jaguars are shown to be a pretty poor team this season, to be honest. They're 2-6. I mean, the Eagles aren't, maybe you wouldn't say they're exceeding expectations. They have a good record. The offense has been a little bit stagnant, but yeah, I mean, listen, the Eagles are favored by a touchdown for a reason, so I'm certainly not gonna pick against Philly in this one.
This is a no-brainer. Eagles will win easily.
Jack, what do you make of there's an interesting game in the NFC North between the two teams that are currently atop of that division, right? With Green Bay and
Oh
Detroit,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right, that's right. This should be a very fascinating matchup where you have the Packers were coming off a win against Jacksonville last week, like I mentioned, and then you have the Detroit Lions. They were coming off their big, huge win over the Titans last week at home. I don't know, Blake. This one's going to be a pick 'em for me. So I could see this game go your way, where you could see Jordan Love throwing more, scoring a lot of scoring more points. Um, Combination of both. I could very well see. So first of all, I could very well see Jordan Love scoring a lot of points, and then you can followed by and then and then and then and then followed and then followed by Jared Goff. I could see a back and forth kind of game with Jordan Love and back and forth, which could very well be in play. So this
Well,
game, this
Detroit
game,
is
this
Detroit
game,
is favored in Green Bay. So do you think
I know,
it's a
but
bit a
this,
little bit of extra
I know, this is
motivation
going to
for
be
the
a
Packers being
yes,
a
yes. The Lions,
underdog at home, right?
yes, the Lions are the better team and they're favored, and with how well coached Doug Campbell is, I respect that. But They're going into a hostile environment of Lambeau Field. You're going to say, "Go Pack, go!" And this team, the Packers are going to the Packers. It is a historic place. It is what they call football heaven, and it's really one of those places at Lambeau Field. It's a very special place, a very historic place, and it was Aaron Rodgers' former home. A lot of titles there and a lot of history involved. Green Bay will probably win the game, but I could be wrong. I think the Packers will win by at least 2 points. The Packers on top, even though the Lions will be a better team, but I could be wrong. But I think the Packers are going to win this game at home, and the Packers go Pack go, and Green Bay is probably going to go on top, but I could be wrong. But I think the Packers are going to win this game by a field goal.
Certainly going to be a close one, I think. Yeah. Like I said, Detroit's slightly favored, and Green Bay is going to certainly take that as a bit of a slight as well. But I don't think it's necessarily an incorrect line there. I think the Lions have looked really, really great, particularly offensively. They got a lot of arrows in their quiver, if you will, in terms of how they can hurt you offensively. So I'm leading Detroit in that one. Man, I think Detroit might be might be the best team in the NFC right now, if I'm going to be honest, Jack. I've just been really impressed with them so far, and I think the only team that's impressed me as much offensively might be Mike's Commanders, to be honest, and they're still a little bit unproven in terms of their track record. So yeah, no, listen, I'm a believer in the Lions. I think they're for real.
Now, I've got the Lions in this game. They'll slightly beat the point spread. Now, the Lions are missing a big guy on their defense, but I think they'll rally. And I agree. I think Lions are probably the best team in the NFC right now.
Would you disagree with that statement, Jackson? Or
Well, look, everybody has different opinions on whoever on like game picks and selections for this game because let's face it,
who do you think's the best team in the NFC?
I think it's the Lions right now, but we all know what happens last year. I mean, look, every year's different, but I think the Lions will win the NFC, but look, I think it's the 49ers and the Lions are always neck and neck in the NFC. Kansas City will always be the team, will always be the team to chase. Like I think every NFL team is, but the thing is they're hard to beat. So you got to respect that. So gotta give them a lot of credit. That's just really what it comes down to, year by year. So yeah, I think the Lions are most likely the best team in the NFC for right now. But that could change. So I
Any
say
other any other matchups catching your eye this week, Jack?
yeah. So the game that I want to get to, we were there not long ago, with the family not long ago, and we went to this NFL stadium, not that long ago. We're talking about our Seattle Seahawks, our favorite NFL team. They're at home taking on the Rams. They were coming off what I would say a blowout, or I would say slightly devastated loss blowout to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills at home, which you think about their game plan for the Seahawks, they had some plays that they would love to have back and were unable to capitalize with. Had some miscues and DJ and their quarterback Geno Smith just fumbled in the red zone on fourth down, which is something that you cannot do when you're in a critical scoring situation in the red zone, which you got to do a better job at. And I think in this game, the Rams, they were coming off a huge win over the Vikings, who had one of the best winning records in the NFC at home. So the Seahawks have to win this game, or else they could be looking at a 4-5 season, which is something that you don't want to fall to. So this is going to be the Seahawks going to be a Seahawks must win this game, or else they could probably be looking at the outside at this point. But I think the Seahawks will win, but it's going to be tough. But the Rams are a great team too, so let's not count them out. So much like I mean, think about it. Let's get this. I mean, think about it. Another sports team from LA, much like the Dodgers is, even though the Rams are now in LA. So with all the great sports there, like I am, I mean, look, I have my. I mean, look, I have LA in the background. The Rams play there at SoFi Stadium, even though they're not at SoFi. They have traveled to the Pacific Northwest. I think the Seahawks will win, but the Rams will never go away. It'll be one of those games that I have to that one of those hard picks I might make. But the Rams might win. It could be very critical, but I think the Seahawks win, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think the NFC
But yeah, I
West,
wouldn't.
Jackson,
But yeah,
is an
like I wouldn't count.
interesting
But yeah, yeah,
division right
yeah,
now.
but I wouldn't count the Rams. So you're right.
No, yeah, no, I'm just saying I think the NFC West is interesting right now because all of the teams, like you got three teams that are 500, and then the Rams are 3-4, just one game underneath that. So it's like a stark contrast to the NFC North, where all the teams are above 500. But just the way kind of those matchups work out, eventually those teams are all going to play each other, and something has to give ultimately. So you probably would bet your money on the 49ers kind of coming right in the end, given the track history that they've had making deep runs in the postseason the past couple of years. But like you said, the two teams playing on Sunday, Seattle and LA, have lots of dangerous players. The Rams might be a bit old, but they still have some really dangerous players. They still have Matthew Stafford, who's an accurate quarterback. And then obviously the Seahawks are dangerous. They they couldn't move the ball too well against Buffalo last week, but other weeks we've seen them be able to. Gino's been able to really step up in the pocket and find his man. And obviously not having DK last week um, certainly didn't help that situation offensively. So hopefully he should be fit and well for the game on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, look, I think I think this is different. This is why I'm asking about who we think's the best team in the NFC right now, because looking at the AFC, we kind of have an idea on who some of our contenders, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore. Like we know these teams have good teams with good quarterbacks who have been there and done that. NFC is a bit different. Like you could say San Francisco, but they're playing 500 right now. So, they have to kind of, and obviously they've had a tough schedule, maybe you would say as well, but it's definitely wide open for sure. So, even at this stage in the season, you can't rule anybody out.
No, you're not wrong, Blake. I mean, look, it's really wide open the way I look at it. I mean, the NFC West. I mean, look, Kyler Murray's been not playing red hot off to a great start. Geno Smith's kind of had an up and down season at this point. But yeah, Matthew Stafford. They were that once down. 49ers were all over at SoFi Stadium. They were once down by double digits. They found a way to come back, and nobody thought they would. Everybody thought they were going to count on Matthew Stafford, but he's still a great quarterback, red hot quarterback that he's won a Super Bowl with about a couple seasons ago. So he's kind of in that been there, done that situation. So so we don't know how that turned out. So yeah, it's really interesting the way how it's going to turn out. But yeah, lots really to look forward to for what this division is going to be like down the stretch. Very interesting to your point about that, Blake. So now I want to turn our attention and get get to this matchup that I want to that I have my eyes on. We have you know what I'm talking about here. Uncle Mike's Commanders. Uncle Mike's Commanders. Getting the win on a impossible Hail Mary game-winning drive to Terry McCullough, to one of the Washington tight ends receivers, and the game-winning drive on the last play of the game with zero O's on the clock, and if and then really and then really, if you think about it, the Bears were all lined up in the right in the end zone and were ready for what should have been or what should be a battered down defensive play to end the game. Instead, the Commanders found a man and allowed the guy to go in the end zone, and the ball was right in his eyes, and he tipped and then tipped the ball in the air, and he caught it, and that's how the Commanders won the game. And I and Uncle Mike and Blake Lumberger was calling me on Sunday night, and he wanted to talk to me about it, and I didn't want to because I was just so busy watching some football that night. But Blake Lonberger and Uncle Mike are just going back and forth right at it on text messages with both Uncle Mike and Blake Lonberger about this. And I got to tell you, the Bears had some disappointments in a game-ending drive in the final play of the
Yeah.
game, starting off with the double doink and then they had some playoff disappointments of how they really should have had it back, and really the pressure was on the Bears and they had a tough schedule ahead, and then the Bears just really had the lead in the fourth quarter, and they thought they were going to close it out and put it away. Instead, the Commanders, Jaden Daniels had his eyes open, and he kept the drive alive, took his time on the field, and set it up the game-winning drive. And the Bears would try to do everything. They they allowed a first down play on 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 that guy, and they just what appeared to be a busted coverage for the Bears, and they just weren't lined up properly, and that's really what happened. But yeah, to me, give the Commanders a lot of credit. Nobody thought this was going to come or turn out the way it should be, but they are at first place, 6-2, and they find themselves in a great spot in an impossible position. Nobody thought the Commanders would be in first place, but they are. But they have the Giants this week, and the Giants, well, they lost on Monday night to the Steelers. So you got to think that the
Wait, wait,
Commanders
wait, Jack. But
are favored in
before
that
we
game.
go on, I wanna hear Mike's reaction when
Yeah.
he saw the game last week. I mean, we can't just gloss over a Hail Mary.
That play was karma, and I'll explain. Looking at the replay, Tyreek Stevenson, cornerback for the Bears, had his back turned to the play, and he was jawing at the fans because he thought that there's no way they're going to score, and the Bears have won in Washington. He didn't turn around and go into the ball until the receivers had crossed the 20-yard line. And then he sprints into the scrum. He's the one that tipped the ball that went into the end zone that Noah Brown caught in the end zone. And so that was karma. So he was just jawing with the fans, and then he tips the ball and he causes the touchdown. It was pure magic. Instead of guarding a man, I mean, the Bears should have had somebody covering Noah Brown, should have had somebody covering any of the receivers, because as soon as that ball is tipped, then they can knock down any of the receivers. There's no way that they should allow somebody in the end zone uncovered. But before I get that, I think the play before that was set everything up. Commanders got the ball on their own 36-yard line with 6 seconds left. And the first play, they run a 13-yard out pass, and there's still 2 seconds left. That's what set up the Hail Mary. And then, Jaden's running around, for a long time until he heaves the ball about 60 yards in the air. It's just a beautiful thing.
What else was crazy about that is he was still 10 yards back when he threw that. He was
Yeah.
10 yards off the line of scrimmage, and he threw it 65 yards from the 35, and it was wobbling, and it
Mhm.
was a cold night. I mean,
Yeah.
everything in that play was, he could have gone up 10 yards closer, but he was worried he was going to get tackled. But what an absolutely, I mean, and just, you know, the Carolina fans and the Washington fans will have a lot to cheer for in sports teams. So it's just so good to see one of our fan bases have something to get excited about. And boy, it looks like those DC fans are excited.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Team of Destiny. We're getting the bandwagon out.
And the
Dusted it off.
uniforms look absolutely those all black uniforms
Yeah.
with the military logos and stuff. Probably
Hmm.
the best uniforms I've seen in college or NFL all
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Now, had we have scored some of the touchdowns instead of all those field goals at the beginning, it wouldn't have been close. That's what we got to do this weekend against the Giants. We beat the Giants 21-18 at home earlier in the season, but our 21 points, we did it the hard way. We kicked 7 field goals. The Commanders need to put the ball in the end zone when they get into the red zone. And we're going to do that this weekend. And we'll take care of business. The Commanders are ranked 3rd in offense in the NFL this year.
Wow.
Amazing.
Isn't
So
that
what's the ceiling for this team then, Mike? You're obviously there locally. You kind of have the zeitgeist of the city, and I'm sure everyone's loving life right now in Commandersville. But what are the realistic expectations, you think?
To make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly well on your way given you're 6-2,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, they make the playoffs this year, and as everybody will be ecstatic. It's been a extremely successful year. The first year of Dan Quinn's tenure here. The rebuild is on its way. And then the sky's the limit after that. But I think the expectations now are that the Commanders do make the playoffs.
And to your point, Mike, that Jaden Daniels is only in his first year in his rookie season. So he's still learning this offense, even though they're fun, excited to watch, even though he's only in his first year. But usually it takes years and a long ways to develop for a quarterback to be that good and take it to and maybe even push it and go farther to make a deep playoff run. Well, I say in the next 10 or 15 years or so, this team will probably be contenders and be a Super Bowl caliber team. The way I look at it, other than being Caleb Williams and the Bears, who fell short of the heartbreaking loss last week. But I say them and the Commanders are right there to be Super Bowl caliber teams within the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, just the comparison. Williams went 10 for 24, 131 yards. Daniels went 21 for 38 for 326 yards. There's already talk about Daniels as the MVP this year. Of course, we're just halfway through the season. But when was the last time a rookie won the MVP, or has a rookie ever won the MVP?
It's a good question. Yeah, I think if Lamar wasn't playing as well as he is right now, Daniels would be the front runner, right?
Mm-hmm.
He might still be for some people, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems like his attitude is so great too. I mean, that's who you want it for, right? You want a good person with a great attitude. I mean, I just love it.
Yeah. Everybody loves him in town. He's a hard worker. He shows up first, leaves last, and just loves to play.
Yeah, the last time we seen a rookie won the most valuable player award, you have to go back to the Jim Brown days.
Okay.
That's the last time the player has
That's some company.
and won an award like that. It's been quite a long time.
Yeah. That's great company to be in.
Certainly.
And that's right. Also, real quick, I don't know if you know this, Mike, but there is talk out there that Doug Williams is eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame if he gets there. But on it.
Yeah, he's right now he's in a semifinalist for going into Canton, and I think he should.
I agree. I agree. And there's a lot of talk about up there, and I do think he'll be right up there for sure on the list without question. But if he's eligible and if he gets there, then I think that would be something for Washington fans to remember and be very excited about
Hmm.
for what they have to offer for what to remember for the years to come. But yeah,
Yeah,
great for the team and for the organization and and for Williams as a player and yeah, I think Washington fans should be very excited about if he does get elected to the Hall of Fame.
yeah. There was an article that Doug Williams and Jaden Daniels are very, very close, and Doug has become a good mentor for Daniels. I mean, what a what a great. I mean, you can't write it any better than that.
No, not even close. Can't. Look, he is the most. Look, he is the most respected player out there in the league, and on and off the field for what he has accomplished as a player. During his time winning three Super Bowls under head coach Joe Gibbs, like none other, which he does, which I'm sure Blake Lumber can relate that he does both NASCAR and the NFL, well respected, and yeah, Joe Gibbs and Doug Williams and one of the great quarterbacks in all of Washington history and all of history of the franchise. Yeah, it's really it's right up there, and I think that fans up in Washington should be really excited and be very proud from what he's achieved and made from how far
Hey,
he's
Jack.
above his career upon his career.
Hey,
Playing
Jack, I'm going to tie Joe Gibbs to a third sport now. He is
really,
also tied to basketball in the NBA because his driver, Denny Hamlin, started a team with Michael Jordan, but because he was signed with Joe Gibbs, he doesn't drive for his own team that him and Michael Jordan co-own. So how about that? He's also tied to the NBA really closely as well.
I'm very aware of that, Blake. I'm sure I'm all over on that. Yes. Michael Jordan and Joe Gibbs and soccer racing, yes. Yes, I can definitely relate to that for sure.
So Jack, we got a couple minutes left. I just wanted to quickly shout out a couple of the college games for people to keep an eye on this weekend as well. Not like the strongest slate maybe, but I think the standout game this weekend to keep an eye on would be Ohio State away at Penn State, 3 versus 4 matchup there, right?
Yes, and that game is not at night. It'll be at noon,
Right.
like everybody thought we were
Big
hoping for
noon.
and expecting. It'll be a afternoon start and kickoff. It will not be at night like everybody was hoping for and the way it should be. It is not this year, so it'll be a big game, but it will be but it will be in the afternoon. So not a night game this year.
Who do you got, Jack?
I think I got Ohio State winning in a close game. It'll come down to the final play. Ohio State wins it. They'll come from behind and they'll win the game. It'll be close though.
Yeah. Doesn't Penn State, their starting quarterback, isn't he going to be out this Saturday? I think he got injured last
We're
week.
hearing, but that's what everybody's talking about and hearing, but that's probably most likely going to be the case, Mike. Depending on how depending on how it turns out in the start of game time. But if that's the case, then that's a huge blow for the Nittany Lions.
Mhm.
If he
Yeah.
doesn't go. So yeah, that's something to keep our eye on for sure, depending on who starts at QB.
Yeah. Ohio State's only loss was to
At
Oregon
Oregon, yeah, at Oregon.
at
Came
Oregon,
down to a
32 to
lost play.
31.
Yeah, I saw the highlight of that, and yeah, Oregon was just all over them, except for that last play where it was a sliding play by the quarterback and ended up falling short. And that, but yeah, that's just but yeah, that the sport of college football, where it's every given Saturday where anything can happen. And that's just really what it comes down to, Mike, for those critical plays
Yeah.
or a sport
Well,
that doesn't matter.
yeah. So before we leave, I'll give you my upset of the week.
Okay.
Number 19, Old Miss at Arkansas.
Mmm.
Razorbacks will win.
Ah.
Well, they've already pulled
Big
off
Stewie over
an upset
Hottie
as well this
Toddy,
year
huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
against Tennessee.
baby.
So
Yeah, they beat
Baby.
Tennessee.
Wouldn't that be
They beat
something?
Tennessee at home back on October 5th.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Hottie, I wonder what it would be like if Hottie Toddy goes home crying and Woo Pig Sylvie goes excited for that game. That would be quite the storyline there, or headline rather.
that'll be something. We'll see if Hippie Mike is the key to a good upset pick. If your upset comes off, then you might
Upset comes off, I gotta wear the uniform again.
have to become a weekly thing where Hippie
Yeah.
Mike makes a upset prediction. Yeah,
Hippie Mike's upset predictions.
absolutely,
I like it. I
absolutely.
like it. I like it.
All right, Jack, you want
All
to
right,
get us out of
Mike.
here?
Blake, Lineberger, Mike Roby, great to be with you. Have a safe and happy Halloween, and hope that everybody stays safe with the trick-or-treaters and family. Enjoy lots of candy and costumes out there, and enjoy your spectacular Halloween night. And we will see you right back here on Good Guy Sports next Thursday. But in the meantime, happy Halloween, everybody, and stay safe and enjoy the rest of your Halloween spectacular evening as I sign out on Good Guy Sports. Happy Halloween. Woo!
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Peace.
You guys, go Redskins.
Happy Halloween.